If it ain't authentic, I don't want it.
Nothing's impossible. Sorry if I'm dramatic. Not meant to fit your mood. No, I'm not cookie cutter. I'm an original. 1982 digital. Chrysler convertible. On real, just so you know, this ain't no GMO. And anything I want, I can have it. Get money's a habit. What comes being a package? You're still trying to get it. I've been had it. These hoes try to copy me, but they ain't in my bracket. I shine brighter than the diamonds with that Fendi jacket. If it ain't authentic, y'all could have it. Then I want to. I can do anything, even if I just get a little bit of my heart.
It's yours, just imagine it and grab it. Be aware of your habits, work toward it till you have it and discover that you have it. Our existence is elastic, it's like magic. I've been in pain, I've been happy, I've been in straight. Acting is no story to tell. Your words affect how it happens. Your life will be how that happens. How you grasp it, I can't call it, but I can. I'm psychic when I'm most active, eating well, working out, and relaxing, drinking less, making more. Now I'm naturally proactive, cause the bullshit gon' come. That's just energy reenacting. It don't disappear. That shit spin up like some knuckles clapping. That ain't it what they was after. Make your goals your target. Practice like I can do anything. Yeah, I want to.
How I put this God shit in perspective. Yeah. Hey. Fights.
Chaos. People talking about, yo, Inky, are you sure you believe in God? Do you believe in spirituality? Do you? Are you guys confused?
Yeah.
On this planet?
So what do you do? So what do you do when you so official? And what do? They come up to me to give me an issue. So what I got changed? So what I'm gonna blame? So what I'm the vision? So what I attract the magnet? This is the gold potential. So what I'm the sun? I cannot neglect. I'm gonna meet the silver. So what I'm the best that I look at. I'm gonna be illegal. So what she was wrong? If I don't be wrong, I'm gonna be the villain. So what she be on? If I don't be off, I'm gonna be the victim. And growing up say I go crazy, but I should stop acting crazy. I've been going through ascension, ain't no time to explain it. If all else fail, I'll shot them with facts, you'll never go brainless. So what if I'm wrong? I'll never go wrong, I'm writing the pages. Boy, you wanna meet up in other dimensions, I've been through the phases. Engage me in some new ratio, when did I sign the engagement? Basically, I ain't a plain J, I done flew past the basics. If I bring the tree of life, I'ma be lit up for saving. Yeah, ash fell out of the ashtray, shadows then came out the agate. Bad woman to a Catholic, Vatican know it's the last days. The end of the world was ending my world for new neural pathways. Yeah, they cannot stop me, I'm gonna make it out, get out of my bag, wait. I'm way too young to be guessing, way too young to be guessing. I'm way too young to be guessing, way too young to be guessing. Strategy all in my moves, so I won't fail if I mess up. I'm way too stubborn for stressing, way too stuck on perfection. Inky worried if we stop smoking, we'll start eating edibles. Last bites hide the evidence, why did I hire the gecko? Girl, you been fucking with bums and most of them ain't out the ghetto. Baby, so I'm in a meat, I'm gonna get Edison Villa. Highway sleeping beauty if she acting like Maleficent. In cuff season, missing episodes, get arrested for the settlement. King Kong, yeah, Ebony, nah, I'm not coming with negligence. I feel like Almighty God, body in the flesh, and it's effortless. I had to humble myself before I indulge in the beverages. Y'all probably think I'm the exorcist, I'm the O's in the Exodus. Hey, you should have known about his excellence, subtly eating elegance. This shit ain't for entertainment purposes, I'm getting in elements. Ego out of body too, I can see it in my absence. Either way, I am a god, but you gotta address the elephant. I'm too busy getting rich, I don't gotta impress the president. You already know I'm a Spartan, and I'm a spar with the veterans. So what do you do? The hood is sick and you on love. But what did you do? You got you a change from selling them gas. Yeah, I be preaching this health like I never served your auntie. I used to work out bomb, a change never could have stopped me. He probably thought I was a Donna, probably thought I was a Ghana. The gas make them think I'm dead, the bombs really just gone. Damn, they ain't had to send the news, this nigga could have just called us. Yeah, I'ma make it past 25, I'll be honoring Donna. Hitting Hove up in my money phone, he won't hang up, we see 44. This shit is going with a funny bone, nigga pull up in the front porch. Dilate from an early tone, expand my wings in the upper domes. Kick out my feet with my tempers on, shut off my shit out my comfort zone. I caught a breath in the atmosphere, had to gas up my morality. Dream soul to the masses, sleeping on the immortality. They wanna keep me immortality. Yeah.
Scientifically proved that there are higher forces, and all of them have conspired for life to go more diverse and complex. That takes work, creation, the act of creation. That takes work. We have a brain designed through the eyes to gather and store information into the mind. That information in the mind is transferred to the plasma in the body via your mitochondria and the structured water in your cells to the histones. Those histones then speak to the DNA directly and tell the body how to build and change and grow for the environment. You are here to win.
Flights. Star Walker, you know, before you get too outside yourself, let me talk to you for a little bit. Okay. That's right. Yeah, it's not a problem. Esoteric to the exoteric, all is thoughtless. Yeah, everything y'all know is common knowledge. Yeah. Alright now. Yeah, okay. It's cosmic nonsense. Alpha and Omega, Alphabet and Amadonis. Where this water dripping from just is not a faucet. Yeah. Alright now. I just be in a dream, still I can't even wait. Asking me where Uriel from, I came out of space. Beautiful spirits in the sky, still creating the day. If you don't get your own mind, you gon' stay in a flame. Let me ask you, what you gon' do if I told you now? What was you gon' do if I told you that you just externalize? Everything is internal, yeah. What was you gon' do if I told you now? What was you gon' do if I told you that you just externalize? Everything is internal, yeah. Demons from the past like the axe, do you remember me? Going in the dark is being trapped up in a memory. Imagine all my enemies laughing at the end of me. The energy they gave got me surpassing all their distant dreams. Don't act like this is just a meme, it's something more than that. All this knowledge that I be getting, right where the Lord be at. Pain is like rain in the brain, right where you storming at. front and center. I need some cover, just like a quarterback. Yeah, going back to my early days, I was on my third dizzle. Yeah, fucked around with the wrong people, now I got trust issues. Yeah, watch the ones who got a lot of problems and they try to fuck with you. Yeah, 9 times out of 10, they the ones gon' give you trust issues. Because there's always agendas behind a relationship. Cause they don't really fuck with ya behind all the faking shit. You really think you need your sister or that guy you was staying with? You really need to get the picture, in your mind you ain't making sense. What was you gonna do if I told you now? What was you gonna do if I told you that you just externalize? Everything is internal, yeah. What was you gonna do if I told you now? What was you gonna do if I told you that you just externalize? Everything is internal, yeah. In this world with nobody, you know, they wanna know where the pilot flew. Everything externalized that's outside came from inside of you. Gotta pick up their pieces, you know, but ain't nobody there to claim it. For sure. So's the puzzle completed, now everybody gon' be waiting. What the fuck, yeah? What was you gon' do if I told you now? What was you gon' do if I told you that you just externalize? Everything is internal, yeah. What was you gon' do if I told you now? What was you gon' do if I told you that you just externalize? Everything is internal, yeah.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to your monthly peace report. Shout out to my Infinity Club members who have access to this replay. And shout out to those of you here live with me. As always, I do appreciate you showing up, making your presence known. It surely does mean more than the world. As you can see, June 18th, my mother's birthday, we're going to have the new moon while Mars and Venus canoodle in Leo. The sex is the conjunction. So it's, you know, they won't really exactly have sex, but you know, after the retrograde, when Venus eventually catches up, we'll see. Maybe it might be in Scorpio. Who knows? Probably in Sag. We'll see. But as you can see, this is the new moon cycle square Neptune, that by the time this happens, your ability to process and express magic at much more of a supernatural level than what you already do, mistaking mundane events for just normal occurrences, will not only be more noticeable for you to now direct what power you express in Cancer, but will help you in a much greater way become limitless and develop this omniscapic awareness for yourself. Welcome to Gemini season in 2023, Aries season with Jupiter in Aries, and the conjunction activated this 6-year cycle that will complete initially in 6 months. or in this case, in 5 months in Libra season, or in 4 months from now. And of course, Taurus season, Aries evolved us into our infinite nature, where we became more infinite than we were born as. And Taurus is manifesting at another level and layer. Every year is a layer, right? There's levels to the shit. The status and worth of you as an infinite, where you're not a millionaire, you're not a billionaire. That's cheap, that's low. You're an infinity. Yeah. You don't have a limit to your net worth, which Uranus representing radical ideas, innovative, revolutionary concepts in a world that's obsessed with pocket watching and creating really stupid, erroneous measurements of worth, would find very foolish, fool card Uranus to feel like your net worth has no limit, that there is no bank account that can hold your true net worth. However, Gemini is the mutable, magical expression of this quality. If you think of the fan that is on the top of my place right there, when you turn on that fan, there's power that's generated. That cardinal power produces a fixed mechanic. The fixed mechanic, of course, takes the power to push that fan around. And now that fixed mechanic, where it's now moving in a fixed position, produces the effect of wind. Physics in a nutshell. Well, that was a horrible nutshell, but that produced effect is represented by mutable signs. In this case, wind, air, right? So Gemini season, now that you have planted the seeds in Aries and Taurus to move in the right direction, and then to plant more grounding of these values you stand on, Gemini is the ability, this third house skill set, the attitude, and the magic mechanic and principle to draw from this latent facet of your worth and to manifest and create elements of your worth into this reality through your word, because your mind is your magic wand. So Gemini season, relative to Jupiter that's now in Taurus, and Neptune and Saturn that are closing up their cycles in Pisces, and Pluto that is literally ending humanity as we step into the next evolution of our beings and consciousness, the return of the celestials, shout out to Aquarius. This 2023 is one of the beginning sparks towards becoming limitless, that by the time we're in 2030, 2031, and Uranus and Saturn is in Gemini, opposing those of you born 86 and 87, the mini Andrew Tate generation, who has Saturn and Uranus and Sagittarius, will be completing their Saturn return, where your processing of these supernatural dynamics are much more second nature, versus now where you're evolving into the next level of this brand new 12-year Jupiter cycle, bringing in new concepts that are not new, but might be new to you. Okay. Why are you talking about my ass, Devin? That's crazy. But what's really wild is, the mechanic that we're going to personally reference, which doesn't have to be limited to this. So I want you to take everything I'm saying and pick it apart into many different pieces. You may outright disagree with my perspective of these transits, and you are more than welcome to pick it apart. If you decide nothing is useful for you, you could scrap it. If you decide it's all useful for you, you could use it. I want you to take the concepts that I speak on this and come up with your own message and come up with your own interpretation, because I'm going to give you my way of understanding it. But of course, you all have your own unique perspectives. So 94 finishes their Saturn return 2024, when Saturn is in the middle of Pisces. So late this year, middle to next year. Great question. And the mechanic we're going to use is in the version of a magical workshop. Gemini season for 2022, when Jupiter was finishing out of Pisces and ending the previous 12-year cycle that began 2011, I equated that to magic school, where we came back to magic school to learn concepts of magic to help us believe in what's possible, to transcend our belief in the magic of our own thoughts that aided into the synchronization process 6 months later in the Sagittarius of 2022. So now 2023 of Gemini season, relative to being in magic school last year, is now applying everything you've learned in magic school by being on the job. Let's assume you graduated last year and now you're a TA or now you're in an internship. We can call this the magic internship, but we're going to call it the magic workshop. I'm going to now create a separate series. Manifestation with Magic Mike is going to be, I'm bringing Magic Mike back, and it's going to be how I teach tarot. But before I teach tarot, I'm going to teach manifestation with Magic Mike, so that in using tools like tarot, you learn not to see the tarot as your god, but a tool that you use to communicate your subconscious impressions. When you read tarot, it's not the meaning of the card that determines your future. You determine the meaning of the card to align with what you're creating, and it's just an interpretation. That's what makes it subjective and not necessarily a purely objective art. So will this be available for replay for all of my Infinity Club members? This will be available. Okay, for those of you who are Infinity Club, you will get the replay. I'm going to give you a mini magic workshop, and I'm going to show you not only how to use the transits for in a short week, because the moon's in Virgo right now. So in a week, we're going to have the full moon. Watching this monthly peace report will break down the magic workshop that's occurring. I will show you based on the planets how and why. And this is just my interpretation. So you might disagree with that. And I don't want you to just blindly listen to me like I'm your God and be like, it has to be like this. Challenge it. You know what I'm saying? Come up with your own realizations. That's my job as an astrologer. This is not a religion. This is not some religious belief. It's a science. Okay. So like, if there's different perspectives that you personally gain from this, that's my hope. It's my hope that the Pluto Aquarius generation of children being born right now go back to my previous videos and be like, oh, this was right, this was wrong, this was wrong. He didn't know what he was talking about here. I'm furthering along science by having my old work critiqued in light of new knowledge and info that pushes it forward. Okay, we are as gods. All right. Gods meaning lords, creators, having responsibility, right? But I will never claim to be your God. You are the God of your reality, in alignment to the one true God that we can now play this chord. We don't have to get religious with this. Be following God and aligning with the one true God isn't arguing with other philosophies like his name is Allah, his name is Yahweh. It's literally, if we look at it simply, God is a frequency. God is the true frequency that anyone can resonate with. So when you play notes in your frequency that are not aligned with the frequency of God, it creates a discordant tune. This is horrible music theory, but for those of you who know music theory, you're not in alignment with that chord, and it's gonna sound weird as fuck. But when you align your vibration with that frequency, then you have a resonant chord. So it might be a different note, you know what I'm saying? But it's resonating. And the more you align with that frequency, the more Christ-like you are. The less you align with that frequency, the less Christ-like you are. Now, Satanism and Luciferianism says, well, we are God. So I don't have to align with that frequency. I can play my own notes through life. Now you're playing your own notes that are not in alignment with the true frequency. The God frequency is just the frequency of truth. And so when someone, you're bearing your own bias and limited perspectives, truth is a frequency. It's not as simple as this, but to simplify this, basically, when someone tells you a lie at at a subatomic level, I'm just going to throw that word out there, or a quantum level, maybe this isn't true, but like it's not going to resonate with you. And I don't necessarily mean in the sense where people say things that don't resonate with us that are still true. I mean, so I'm not talking about in our perspective, but truthfully, something that's true is not going to lead into more confusion. So that frequency of truth that God vibrates, you aligning with that makes you more like Christ, logos. We don't have to argue about who's doing it right or wrong, because by their fruit ye shall know them. Okay. Gemini is the expression of truth, and Sagittarius is that completion of truth by seeing the meaning of it. So Gemini is literally just the word in the dictionary, and Sagittarius is the meaning of that word. Virgo is the analysis to come up with that meaning, and Pisces is the conclusion of reasoning in the form of a belief based off of this truth and meaning. So that is the mutable axis of magic, which is also the axis of reasoning. All right. And also the axis of perception. So every year when we start the new year in Aries season, Gemini is the first door of change that leads us into Virgo, the next level of change analysis, where if we take the scientific method and approach, Gemini is experimentation. So we ask the questions, we make the theories, and the thing about experimentation is you don't know the answers yet. You're testing the answers. So you experiment. It's like a set. Gemini relates to like 4 to 7 years old. 4 to 7-year-old kids are naturally experimental. What's this? What's that? What's that? Kids say the darnest things. Then we come into analysis. Virgo. And Virgo takes the experiment of Gemini, classic scientific method, and analyzes that data deductively, inductively. Virgo is the social interaction of this, because Gemini is just my individual experiment. Virgo now brings us into a society of other individual thoughts. So now I'm taking my experiment. This person has their experiment. This person has their experiment. We all pull the data together, and now we can now discern what's real about the data. Okay, hey, I replicated similar results that you had. We can make these tweaks based on this. Then after the analysis, for those of you who've written a research paper, you then have to synthesize those results, gain sources, whether you're using MLA or whatever writing format. And the synthesis now brings the meaning of the analysis. This is what makes Virgo the critic, because they unveil hidden meaning. So this is important, because just because Virgo personally knows the facts or analyzes the facts doesn't mean that they're Sagittarius. A Virgo that can analyze that there's 6 toothpicks in the table doesn't necessarily mean they're aware of what it means that it's there. And this is where synthesizing meaning versus facts can bring conflict, versus facts being an enemy to what's true, right? It's factual that those 6 toothpicks were on the table, but the truth was, there were actually 7 until one blew it out. So someone who's just seeing the facts could just think, oh, there were originally 6 here. But the truth is there were 7. And that's where meaning of Sagittarius completes Gemini, where we're able to take the analysis and come up to with what that means. And then based on the meaning, we conclude with Pisces, where it's now our belief. We come into a more transcendent understanding, which now brings the results of the experiment, so we can go back to Gemini and experiment with this analysis and whatnot. And this axis has caused so much disagreements and confusion, because without a strong grasp of logic, which I hold myself to, and I'm not necessarily imperceptible to speak fallacies. This is why, logic is very important. You can use facts to lie. This is why someone had quoted, facts can be an enemy of truth. You can lie with the truth. You can lie with facts. You can lie with vision. You can show someone a vision of something that looks a certain way, but that's not what it is, right? If I showed you a camera of your boyfriend talking to a girl, and you just see them talking, and I'm like, oh, they're trying to get with each other. but then you zoom into what they're saying, and your boyfriend is like, hey, I want to get my girlfriend a present. Do you think this is cool? That's perceptual context. Okay. So with that being said, Gemini is that first door into change where we update our programming language, just like you update the firmware of your phone every period. Well, let's just assume for this analogy, it's every year, right? So that's why I want to really break down the nuances of this Gemini season versus previous updates to our programming language. This is the first Gemini season that we've had Jupiter begin a brand new cycle in Aries and now Taurus. We have seen Saturn end its cycle. So the Gemini seasons in 2025 moving forward with Saturn Aries is also going to hit different. The Gemini season with Uranus and Gemini is going to hit different. So that's the difference between a firmware update versus 2026 when Uranus is in Gemini. And now the whole company got all of its equipment upgraded. So now your firmware updates are with upgraded equipment that are so much more technologically advanced. So I'm going to do my best to break down why this 2023 Gemini season is one of the most important and iconic. You could argue that with any Gemini season, and I will always call myself out on this. I will always say this is the best day ever, but I'll remind you that it's just the same. So with that being said, okay, when we talk about the magic workshop, this isn't something that you have to know how to do because you're already doing it. You've been doing it your whole life. I'm just going to share my perspective to help you be more aware of the process of what you're doing and why, with the energy and the planets where they are, you want to be very aware, because this with Saturn and Pisces, it's not going to be very kind to those of you who are not having integrity, Saturn, of your beliefs, Pisces. We would like to welcome Always Dreaming to Infinity Club. You will have access to this replay, so be on the lookout. I'm going to post it on the community tab immediately after, but the memberships tab will already have it there. So with that being said, the ethics and the properties of this magic workshop are going to be carried through into September. You're going to empower it in Cancer season. You're going to strengthen it in Leo season. And then Virgo season is where you will begin to see elements of your mindset break through, or rather integrate more so into your reality, to where elements of what you're working with on your mind, reprogramming the way you think, will now start to become evident in your behavior. And from Virgo, September to the end of the year, December, by the time we reach Sagittarius season, the results, and yeah, you should already start to see this now that the moon is in Virgo. We're going to come into how this is already starting to manifest. So I love that you said that. By Sagittarius season, you will vision Sagittarius, see the effects of the magic you've been creating. So there's no right or wrong way to do this. If you are not putting in the spiritual work, spirit pertaining to your mind and breath, and if you are reinforcing negative habits, negative thoughts, if you think this is bullshit and you're still talking and focusing on things that you don't want in your life, it's going to begin to integrate in Virgo, and that's what you will see at the end of the year. And that's the reward you will take through Capricorn. If you put in the work, it is work. Is it hard work? To me, it's easy. It's challenging, but it's easy. It's your own thoughts. This is how powerful you are. Take your power back. Should you just remember you're a motherfucking badass creator and you can create whatever you want, then you know this is just yet another year you can create what you want. And I want to teach you how this is the 6-month pipeline from Gemini to Sag that you manifest truth and apology, whatever you want. I want you to hold me to this so that by the time we're in Sagittarius season, you could be like, peace dealer, I followed your instructions and I don't see what's happening, which I'll just be like, you just said you don't see it. But I want to give you a disclaimer that if you just take heed to the instructions of just this Gemini season, it will guide you along the way. But I also do want to say, you may listen to my instructions and be like, I don't want to do it that way. I want to do it this way. Yes, you must do it the way you want to do it. You summoned me. So I'm just giving you my insight, but this is your life. So like if you want to do it opposite and get results, it's all up to you, B. Like I'm not here to force you to do what you want to do. I'm just here to tell the truth from my perspective. Okay, shout out to Sammy Ingram. So with that being said, I've showed you this new moon in Gemini that we're going to end the transit off basically before the moon goes into like Cancer and Leo. So the new moon that we had was in Taurus. The seeds that we planted are now starting to sprout through the ground in Virgo. The full moon is going to happen in Sagittarius, where you will begin to see and understand what you're creating. The whole purpose with the full moon is if you don't like what it is you're seeing, you have until 6 months to change that, because that's what's going to fully manifest. If you like what you see and are harvesting at the full moon, then just keep it up. That's basically it. Diagnostic. And this is how we simplify astrology, just using mathematics and cycles, and not bringing in all this mythology and all this Venus in Cancer means you're going to have a feel good time. No, let's just get methodical with it. I'm just going to give you straight facts. The math, my interpretation of the math, but it's your experience that'll let you know how it's true for you. Okay. So that being said, cool. Everything from the new moon in Taurus up until now is effectively having you build your new magic language, something you've been doing your whole life. But relative to this firmware update, you're building this new magic language. So by the time you harvest at the full moon in Sagittarius in a week from now, the understanding of the vision of this magic language, then come back to transcend and see the belief, how your beliefs change because you're actually seeing results for this. Once we come back around and get ready to start the Cancer season transit, the new moon in Gemini is the finishing of the magic workshop. You have your magic words. They're primed, they're charged, and now you can say them with that new moon in Gemini. You see effects, and then Cancer season will now, based on these magic words, strengthen the feel behind you, the way you use these words, so that by the time we get into Virgo season, now you're seeing results of how these words not only affecting your behavior, but you're applying them into situations. Okay. And this is where the way you do this does not have to be how I suggest. Many of you are advanced, so you have already known these principles. I just want to kind of provide constants that you can now take into whatever you want. All right. So with that being said, the mechanics of this magic workshop, I'm going to base on the law of assumption. And we can actually practice this right now. This is a magic workshop for becoming limitless. Becoming limitless means that with your mind that's a magic wand, anything that you think and say is yours right now. Now, whether you really want it is what this type of practice will expose, whether to how well you can reinforce what your mindset is with what you experience in this 3D reality. We're going to use 3D as a term. Do I believe this is 3D and the 4D and 5D? Not really, but I like to use those terms. So for the purpose of this example, this physical reality is 3D. Your mind is 4D. The thoughts, your thoughts are intangible. So it represents the causal realm, the 4D. The astral realm of imagination, right, that your mind links to is the 5D. So we'll go off of that. And then you could say 6D are your emotions, but I'm not really going to kind of get into that. That's more theoretical to me. So for the purpose of this example, 3D physicality, your body, 4D, your mind, and then your imagination, 5D. When you imagine anything, you are overlapping your 5D onto the 3D, like a Pokemon Go augmented reality. And your 4D are your thoughts. So living as if you have all the cars you've ever wanted, even though your 3D reality may show the reflection of you driving a busted buggy, in your head, you're driving all the luxury cars you've ever wanted. So That's the true reality. And this is what, whether you need to take a red pill to understand, you were lied to. I'm sorry, you were lied to. This is not real. Let the earth signs have this shit. I know there's some Tauruses who like are so attached to 3D. Not every Taurus, so not every earth sign is attached. Like you have earth signs that are woke, right? But like, I'm sorry you were lied to. This 3D reality is an illusion. This is why Pisces is opposite Virgo, because the true reality, Virgo, is your imagination. If you want scientific evidence of this, research recently, because I don't think a lot of people know this is recent. Anytime anyone wants to act like this 3D is real, tell them and reference the Nobel Peace Prize that was won by 2 scientists who have proven this universe is not locally real. This isn't here. This is energy. This is not real. And it's not local, which means it's not even here. You're not even here. If you really knew your soul, you would know you're not here. I spit that bar back in like 2014 before anybody discovered whatever, because a lot of people know this without knowing this. So that means everyone who ever told you, oh, you got to take life seriously, this is all real, they lied. They didn't know what they were talking about. This is not real. This is not my opinion. This is science. And shout out to Anil Seth. You hallucinate your conscious reality. So nobody on this planet knows anything, because knowledge is advanced to the celestials, higher beings. We're not here to know. We're here to experience, because you were lied to believe there's no afterlife. There's a life after this one. So like, this is very, very important. You don't need me to tell you these things. You're experiencing these things. And so the dark forces who wish to nerf you, to give your power away, have lied to you. This is the enlightenment transit that will kick a little bit different this year, because we have a new 12-year cycle. So I'm just talking facts. This is not an opinion. It has been scientifically proven. You're not even here. This is not even real, because how would it be real? The only thing real is your imagination. The reality you are experiencing is the reality you have projected through the myriad of thoughts you think and ingrain into your behavior, so that you project out here. This is why you were a creator of your reality. You are not even at least 10% physical. Science has proven this. More of your being is non-material. Duh. This is the last level of the materialization that just slows and condenses down energy, which is truth. So with that being said, we know this universe isn't locally real. So if you can't really see me for real, if this body is just the physical image of my invisible, intangible being, my soul, that can't be measured with physical tools because it's metaphysical, okay, but can be felt and can be tuned into. Well, we know that this vessel that holds your soul and expresses your spirit through your gifts and your word, life and death in the tongue, everything that you reinforce that you think and see, case in point, the person in the hoopty who thinks that they're driving a luxury car is not going to create it, they're creating it. They have that. They're taking inspired action. They don't have to do anything, make money to get that car. If they want to make money to get that car, they'll do that. If they want it to come to them, it'll happen. But whether they get it or comes to them, it doesn't matter, because the moment it's in their mind, it's already here. Human beings cannot perceive beyond the third dimension. And we know that the third dimension is not the only dimension that exists. If you were to draw a 2-dimensional structure as a 3D being, you can manipulate that 2-dimensional structure. To the 2-dimensional structure, it'll look like things are just changing, like someone edited it. Please understand, to us as 3D creatures, when higher beings, remember Ephesians 6:12, our enemy is not flesh and blood. When higher beings interact with you here, it will look miraculous. But is it? Everything in this world could be explained by science. So what we think is supernatural is really just an advanced civilization or being interacting with this third dimension beyond the third dimension, which to us will look like magic, which will look like miracles, but there's nothing miraculous about it. You just created that experience. All right. People take a very immature approach to magic because they're misunderstood about it. They feel like if a magic spell doesn't work the first time, then magic is bullshit. I looked up this spell on Google and I tried to use it and it didn't work. Interesting. Wild. Because you would never go to the gym and lift up a 300-pound bell bar. And because you struggle to lift it, you would never be like, working out is bullshit. Barbells don't work. You would look like a fucking moron, wouldn't you? Why? Because you have to literally build up to bench 300 pounds. You can't just start at 300 and expect to just be benching 500, right? They tried. Okay, that person who builds up to 400 probably spent months working on the 100 to 200 bench. And then you know what? Through muscle tearing, their muscles got stronger and then they could lift more. So, why people don't realize magic craft works the same way, if not very similar, is beyond me. Where you just feel like you can dabble into a field that people spend decades mastering, and because you can't understand it, it's clearly bullshit. How moronic that mindset is. Just like working out in the gym, your mind has an imagination. Isn't that crazy? Fire, right? Your body with the yang, earth, is fueled by fire. All right. The earth controls how much fire you exert through these limits of your physicality. That's all physical. Well, the yin is air, water. The mind governs your emotions and imagination. And just like fire has to work out the muscles of your body, water works the muscles of your mind. And so when you are like in the gym working out the imagination muscle and you take a magic spell, and like in the gym, like you work that every day, you repeat and reinforce the majority of those thoughts like that, magic occurs. This is why miraculous seeming events occur, but they're not miraculous. In that moment, you just happen to be aligned with your core. So the reason why people make up magic words and they practice it, but they don't get the immediate results they do like others might, is because you have spent your entire life creating limiting beliefs, limiting perspectives, like outright lies that you just accept as true because of idioms society has beat down your brain. And now you're just overcoming years worth of that programming with new ideas. The rooted quality of your own subconscious mind that has reinforced these negative beliefs, talking about, thank you, Justin Sarah, I'm not beautiful, I'm not attractive, oh, woman, I don't have luck with women, because of your experiences that you reinforced and decided to believe that that's the case when that couldn't be anything further from the truth. If you just decided to up today say, you know what, I can get any woman I want, it's very possible for you to truly align with that and release those old thoughts. But realistically, it may not happen overnight. You might immediately be reminded subconsciously of experiences where you weren't lucky, where you couldn't get anybody you wanted. And now you're having to reinforce this new idea against the old idea, where through repetition, even if your 3D is still reflecting what you used to believe, through repetition, and planting those seeds and then nurturing those seeds, that's how you create magic. Magic is not some supernatural, mythical, miracle fall on my lap shit. The reason why shit falls on people's lap is because they're masters. They put work in the gym. When you see that master magician say, Fruity Loop Doop Abracadabra, that's why I played Abracadabra in the beginning of this. I can do anything. Abracadabra. What I say is what it happens. The reason why a master magician can say abracadabra and it happens instantly is because behind closed doors, that person sharpened their word. They cleared their mental blocks. A master magician puts 100% of their mind and thought behind an intent, and the universe has to confirm. Average person is going to put maybe 50%, 30% is doubting in the back of their subconscious. Does this really work? And so these are auto nervous subatomic facets or quantum or metaphysical facets that will get in the way of you manifesting what you want to create. Just like the person who comes out the gates benching 500 pounds was not born benching 500 pounds. They had to work out in the gym. So why do we not approach astrology, magic, psychic arts with the same discipline? Actually, some of you do. You're masters. Let's get it. Okay. Like I did not just come out the womb. I did have this in my past life, and you can pick stuff up from your past life, but I did not just start astrology being as masterful as I wouldn't even say I am. This is not self-proclaimed. I put in work. I put in that 10,000 hours. And if you haven't put in 10,000 hours when it comes into magic, there's nothing stopping you now. In fact, welcome to Gemini season, because in alignment with the transits, you won't even need 10,000 hours. This will ease the efficiency of what you've always been good at doing. Maybe if you've never done this your whole life, but you have. And now being aware of unconscious habits and beliefs that get in your way will very easily shift your mindset to remind you you've always been the badass motherfucker you have been born to be. Okay. Only God is good. So a woman or a man of God is a good man or a woman. It's as simple as that. We don't have to get religious or philosophical because we can argue with what good means. But personally, you were born a child of God. And so when you align with that perfection, this produces the Holy Spirit, the holy spiritual gifts, so that in alignment with the higher will being done on earth, you can facilitate miracles. But this isn't because of any woo-woo spirituality bullshit. It's just a concerted effort to be aligned with your own mind and body, which is a lot easier said than done. So this is where we're going to bring into account the magical workshop. Right now, the moon, the kingdom of God in heaven, is within. Thank you, Royal DX. The moon is in Virgo. So we have finished the activation and we are just beginning integration. Integration is really where the real work starts. So this is where the seeds you've planted a week ago are now starting to sprout out the ground. It's not over when they sprout out the ground. You still got to water the plants. You still have to make sure they grow right. And then you harvest it, which we will in a week. So Magic Workshop works like this. Right now, what is one thing that you want right now? And the reason why it's very difficult in due to previous brainwashing and programming is people have pride. People have ego. In order for magic to really work, you need to let go of your fucking ego and pride. I'm sorry. No one is too good enough to be patient, and no one is too good enough to understand things newly. Unfortunately, worldly wisdom gives people the idea that they know more than others based off of certifications from knowledge that's purely theoretical, when you know more or less than the next man. Even the person who's illiterate, who doesn't know how to speak English, still knows just as much as you. And this is why we can't look at each other as better or worse than the other. Even if we have certain qualifications and specifications, that doesn't make me better or more knowledgeable than someone else, because we all experience, and we're all going to die. Everyone is going to have their last breath someday. All right, unless you're immortal. So with that being said, right? What is it that you want right now? Okay. Relative to the fact, unless this is still theoretical, that every experience potentially exists, you just deciding that you want it now and then that you have it, you have it. For example, I might want someone to text me. I'm not going to stalk their social media. I'm not going to try and talk to them so they talk to me back. I'm imagining right now that I've received a text from them. Oh, nice. And they said all that. Beautiful. And now I'm moving on with my life. That's it. That's magic. That's it. Magic is not hard to do. It's so easy. You make it hard because you've been lied to. You've been taught, oh, you have to work hard to be successful. First of all, life is not about working hard. It's about working smart. I'm sorry, dumb people told you to work hard. That's why some people can skate through without having to do more than half of the work other people do. You have to take your power back. Evil celestial and alien beings, with the help of fallen angels, have nerfed humanity so that most humans can give their power away and not tap into the kingdom of heaven that is within them. That's what these ascended masters came down to remind you all, that you got the power, you got the magic. What the fuck do you really even need outside of yourself other than you wanting it? That's it. So the reason why it's very difficult for people to accept that right now, I just received that text message. I'm not waiting for it. And this is the big misconception. Manifestation is not a process. It's not. The moment you decide you have it, you have it. And your inability to accept that is the reason why you are getting in your own way, because you were lied to believe that it has to be like this, it has to be like that. There are no limits at all. And wanting something too much presupposes that you can't have it. Why? For example, I want this deck so bad. I wish I can have this deck. Oh my gosh. I'm not going to feel happy unless I have this deck. How stupid do I look? This shit is literally in my hands right now. But because you were trained to, it's physical, so I have it. That's not true, though. And I know that's very controversial for some people to understand. All right. It's easy for me. I have Mercury on my, I'm literally the magician. I've been creating magic my whole life. All right. So when I told myself I want weed, when I was in Texas doing the meetups and I said, I want weed, shout out to the goddess who facilitated this, because it's just another classic example. I said, let me practice manifestation. Right. First of all, I was in the airport, like, I'm about to be recognized by somebody. Someone's going to say they remember me. Sure enough, I let that shit go. Sure enough, someone walked up to me and said, oh my gosh, we used to have class together. Did I manifest that? Maybe I just predicted that. Right. But I was like, I'm going to get some marijuana. I want to smoke some weed, but I'm not going to try and get it. I'm confident that it's going to come to me. I didn't spend time in affirmation. I didn't spend time visualizing, although those things would help. Those techniques just help keep you in the state. I just had to decide. That's it. And let me give you the science of that. Capricorn is the 9th house of manifestation. Taurus, I manifest. Virgo, I analyze. Capricorn, I decide. In order for you to manifest, you have to make the decision. That's it. Decision implies intent. I decided. It's all good. It's going to come to me. In less than 24 hours, I went to that meetup and a literal goddess came to me and handed me a bag of marijuana. I didn't have to pay for it. It was a gift. We co-created that. Just like she manifested meeting me, I manifested receiving that and getting to know someone fucking amazing. Okay? That was a co-creation. She didn't have to manipulate anything. I didn't have to manipulate anything. All right. Having a high vibration definitely helps you maintain the state. It's a lie to say that you have to have a high vibration to manifest. You don't, but trust, it helps loads. It helps a lot. Okay. So I had already decided was going to receive it. Okay. And I was not busy worrying about, oh, when is it going to come? Okay. So basically, I've decided I have that text. Manifestation is not a process. The moment you decide you have it and you imagine, and every time that comes back, you just reaffirm, I already got it. I'm $4 million in my bank account. Remember we deposited $2 million from our subconscious into our bank. So for those of you who did that, how many of you have stayed true to that? Did you let the passage of days make you realize, where's my $2 million? Because if you do, then you literally are like me right now, who's like, where's my tarot deck? I really wish I had this deck. It's in my hands right now. But you were lied to the point where it has to be physical before I believe it. No. Believing it is seeing it. Whether I go out and buy the deck, but for the purpose of this example, I just manifested a text that I want right now, right? And I have it already. If I'm waiting for the text, if I'm looking around for results, if I'm waiting like, oh, let me look at my 3D. The 3D is just a mirror. All right? So if I'm looking at this reflection right now and I'm like, oh, my shirt's being taken off. Am I waiting for the reflection to take off the shirt before it's off? I would look stupid. You do. It's not the 3D. The 3D is just the reflection of your inner world, the kingdom of God within. So whenever I'm looking or waiting, manifestation is instant. It was already decided. The moment I decided I'm going to receive weed, she probably was already inspired with the idea before that. I didn't have to control or manipulate that because that's not your job. You have a higher self. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't even have to worry about that. You are already manifesting. So I already have this tarot deck. Whether I see 3D evidence of it or not, this is your power. So ask yourself, how come feeling in your power, you feel weird? How come feeling in your power, you feel crazy? Do you understand this was an engineered psychological psyop to brainwash you over several generations so that you give your power away with peer pressure, with fake authority figures, with fake celebrities that people idolize? You have people idolizing flesh blood human beings just because they look like they're in a higher status, giving their power away. I wish I could be like that. Do you know who the fuck you are? You could be that right now. But if your lower self-esteem could be manipulated and taken advantage of, you'll just give your power away, right? So welcome to Gemini season 2023, where we're taking our power back all year as we're stepping into this next cycle of leveling up. And in this Becoming Limitless, we're going to focus with Gemini season on just our words, on just our language, not trying to manipulate things, not trying to control our 3D external environment, just with what comes from within us and what life we create with our words. If you knew everything you thought and said was a thing that happens, you'd be so much more conscientious of every thought you have. And that's what, after this Gemini season talk, I want to remind you of. You have a miracle in your head. Your brain that processes your perspective is one of the most miraculous things that we are all gifted with. In fact, certain scientists who believe you don't have a soul and it's really just all your brain, they're not really far off to say that. I do believe you have a soul, but the seat of your soul might even be a part of your brain. The brain is really just the input-output processor to make sense of this experience, which if you see it, feel it, hear it, that means it's real to you. But does that really make that real? That's the great mystery that we're experiencing right now, which is far from a mystery. So what's really, really amazing / important about this is through the mechanics of the magic workshop. Okay. The magic workshop works like this. You can edit this as much as you want. I'm going to give an example. All right. And relative to the example, this will make sense of everything. Honestly, um, AI is a Pluto Aquarius advent of the next phase of this human experiment or cycle, artificial intelligence. If Aquarius is the gun and Leo is the lion, AI is neither good nor bad. It's the people behind AI, where if they're pure, then it'll be used purely. If they're impure, obviously it's going to be corrupted. So just like everything needs balance, more people rely on artificial intelligence than your own spiritual intelligence. It's called SI. The mechanics for AI that compiles information and is programmed and trained is literally an inferior version of what you have in your mind. So SI, spiritual intelligence, is literally the more superior version of AI where you can ask your brain any question. You are the question and the answer, and you will get an answer every time. But depending on your relationship with your mind and brain, if your mind is cluttered with so much bias and limiting perspectives, most people's connection to their SI is trash because they don't even really believe in themselves or know how to recognize what are their own thoughts or have trained it properly, right? SI is way better than AI because AI is based off of the limited programming from its creators. SI taps you directly to God. So you're gaining answers from spirit. And this is where, in being able to align what you pick up spiritually versus what's real, you can produce results. Whatever anyone saying that they have spiritual intelligence should be able to produce results. Otherwise, they're delusional. It's SI runs through the scientific method as well. Everyone has SI. But if I can convince you that that's hogwash, your intuition is hogwash, and you need to rely on these digits, you're giving your power away. Happens every day. So, relative to the law of assumption, you maintain a state of consciousness to align with what already exists. So when you wish to connect and manifest a specific person, using this example, you are living in the end state. You're starting from the end. Who are you and what do you feel as if someone who already has your specific person? How would you think? Living as if does not mean you're pretending in 3D that you're with the person. You're going to look weird as fuck. But if you can pull it off, do it. If some people can pull that off and not attach too much to the 3D, cool. But you want to live as if within your mind because the subconscious mind cannot see or hear. You are its ears and senses. The subconscious mind takes whatever you think and say as gospel fact and reality and then produces it and projects it. Law of assumption. So in your mind, when you live as if you are already with this person, someone who is already with their specific person or someone who has already manifested what they desire, they're not thinking as if they don't have it. They're not frequently checking on their social media to see if they've messaged them back. That is someone who desires being with someone, not someone who's with that person. Okay. So the whole process of this law is maintaining the state and not waiting for anything to change. Because the moment you maintain the state, you have created the change. Do you see the shift of how powerful that is? It starts with you and your decision, and then reality reflects. It's not the other, you be, do, and then have. It's not, I want this, and then once I have it, then I feel it. This is how you've been nerfed. It's a lie. And don't take my word for it. You've done this your whole life. So, with that being said, we know that maintaining that state is what aligns you with this. And so when you use techniques like visualization, imagination, Affirmation is not a technique. The affirmation is not, I'm living my dream life. I'm living my dream life. I'm living my dream life. No, 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 no. Affirmation are the 80,000 thoughts a day you have. So you want to make sure each thought, you don't have to break it down in each thought, but the thoughts you're having are affirming that you're living your dream life. Today is such a good day. I'm so grateful to be alive. Just the random thoughts that you're having, which of course a master is conscientious of silencing the monkey mind and focusing their mind towards what they're creating, because they know their thoughts are things. They're not a victim of circumstances where they're like, why is my life so shitty? But every day you're thinking negatively, you're creating that. That's the big contention of responsibility that takes the power back into your hands. And it's really hard for people to accept that, because like, what, that person, that the thing that someone else did to me is not my responsibility. And it's like, no, their actions are their responsibility. The way you responded was your karma. Did you reinforce that to make yourself a victim? This is so very important. There's no excuses here. You are that powerful. So with that being said, in the maintenance of this state of consciousness, the beginning of this perception is called Gemini. Now that you have decided you are the creator of your reality, you now recognize that you can literally have whatever you want. So here's where the workshop comes in. Is this necessary? No. For example, I did not have to use magic words to manifest all the miraculous stuff that I meant. When I made $1,000 in less than 24 hours of literally just intending, hey, universe, I want $1,000. Make it happen. You have 48 hours. I didn't use any technique. I just decided. You just have to decide and let it be. Even if you doubt, you still have to maintain that decision. I didn't say you have to believe it. I didn't say you have to feel it like it's real. I say you just have to decide. Now, robotic affirming and repetition, visualization, are these things necessary? No, but do they help? You can consider them superchargers that maintain that state if you need it because you're being knocked off state by giving into the illusions of your 3D reality, which is illusory. It's not locally here. This is scientifically proven. A Nobel Peace Prize was won for this. If you don't believe me, go type in a Neil Seth TED Talk. Your brain hallucinates. It's reality. This is just facts. By the time your subconscious can bring together everything you're seeing, the moment is shifted. You perceive so little, which is beautiful. This is not a bad thing. This is a beautiful thing. This is just more reason why we all need to connect together and share our perspectives. So, with that being said, what we're going to do with Magic Workshop is basically imagine if the state of consciousness and experience you want to manifest could be attributed to a word or a gesture. All right. For this example, we're going to use words, Gemini. Okay. The Gemini process of magic crafting is creating the states and the ideas you want to live in. Virgo season analysis is going to be the next stage where we're now integrating in our behavior these states into our lifestyle. This is where it becomes real. But until then, we want to maintain our mental cognizance of what we're telling ourselves. It's okay if you slip up. Just go back to that dominant mindset. Everything in my life is perfect. Everything in my life is perfect. Everything in my life is perfect. However, with this magic workshop, what if you had magic words, right? This Gemini season is your next opportunity to create your own magical language. What if you personally had magical words and phrases that you can align with conscious states through neuro-linguistic programming with anchoring to reinforce every time you say that word to produce that state? Gemini season, if you practice this, will take these magic words, and by the time we step into this new moon in Gemini, now when you say that magic word, the effect is produced. And the amount of time that it takes for you to maintain that is considerably shorter because you did the work. You didn't expect for it to fall out of the sky. You reinforced it every time. You didn't give yourself a time limit. You know this is your life. Manifestation is not a technique, it's a lifestyle. So you know this is just what the world you want to keep creating. You keep your sword sharp. So what's that going to look like? I wake up in the morning and I decide today is going to be the best day ever. And I'm envisioning and realizing all the ways that my day can go right. I'm creating my reality. And instead of having to say and feel that over and over with this magic workshop, let's take that state, today is the greatest day ever, or woke up in the morning feeling like P. Diddy. Some of you can even use music to reinforce that state, right? And now I want to use the magic word bubbles. Every time I say bubbles, I think of that state and I remind myself that today's the best day ever. That is now the magic workshop element of, you don't have to do this. This is just one of limitless ideas you can do. And this is where I'm saying, take this idea and make it whatever you want. Maybe you don't want to say a word. Maybe you want to shake your butt every time you do it. It could be a gesture. Maybe you want to play a song. Like, make it your own thing. Chez is going to say sassafras. I like M. Night Shyamalama Lama. You know what I'm saying? The more fun it is, the better. The more your inner child is activated, the better. So now I've created a magic word, bubbles. And now every time I say bubbles with the intention to produce this effect, I'm not waiting for the best day ever to happen. Bubbles, baby. I'm in the state. Today is the best day. Bubbles! Now I've created a word. The strength of that word, depending on your mind, the first time you say it could be super powerful and instantly trigger that, or may take some time. And this is where everyone's different. Some of you might have been brainwashed to believe that you're a failure your whole life. So when you say bubbles, you now have to reinforce this word through at least 21 days to create a habit. Is it necessary to do that? Everyone's different, but relative, of course, to the programming and the old story. You know what I'm saying? Linus legitimately could say wife squad assemble and the wifey show up. And so the thing is, it occurring in the 3D is not the result. This is the difficult part you need to uplift out of. The moment you decide that that's what it is, that's what it is. That's why in order to really succeed in this, you have to be okay with feeling or looking delusional. You're not being delusional, but hell, this shit will look delusional. When you're not waiting for evidence, you are literally reprogramming your brain to go off of what you already said, because your thoughts are things. For some of you, this will be second nature. For others of you, this is going to be difficult because you have created opposing programs that you just need to reinforce with the new program. You already do this every day. I want you to think of right now your life and how the issues that you have are only there because you have reinforced and reflected that. Oh, this person doesn't like me. You keep on focusing on that. You don't have to change that other person to like you or to not be a dick to you. You just have to go within and be like, you know what? That person knows they place. They don't fuck with me anymore. And you just keep reinforcing that. You're changing yourself on the inside. That's going to reflect that change. You're not waiting for that change. You're not looking at the 3D to wait until that person changes. You have decided within that's what it is. How powerful are you? That makes you super powerful. All right. But if I reinforce within pop culture that you're a lame or you're a loser to think like that, now this is a battle of wills. This is a spiritual war to where you have to stand on your values to believe you're limitless versus, or you can trade that for other people's approval who you don't really know like that. Don't give your power away. Thank you. So, relative to this magical word, right? Magical workshop, I'm saying bubbles. I have already claimed and decreed that today is the best day ever. And so, no matter what happens in my 3D environment, a master is not going to let the 3D influence those thoughts. Even if someone from the outside looking in might be like, damn, that person must be having the shittiest day ever. In my mind, I'm like, bubbles, baby. Today was the fucking best day ever. You have reinforced that. That is the equivalent of working out your imagination. In this materialist, reductionist world that is so obsessed with the material, that's going to look stupid as fuck to people, but you are still flexing a muscle that's intangible. People want to see the stuff you can see, but as a man of God, my treasures are invisible. They last forever. I don't care about material shit. It does not last forever. So when someone says, what do you have to show for it? Show who? I'm not here to show anything to any of you. The kingdom of heaven is within. That is corny to most people, idiots. And that is wisdom to smart people. God's chosen, those who chose themselves to walk in alignment of that narrow path. Broad is the pathway that leads to destruction. It's the path everyone's taking. It's the path that makes sense. Narrow is the path that leads to heaven. All right. The path less taken and traveled. And this is where you get to create whatever world you want in alignment with your own integrity by living what it is you say you're creating. If you say it, but you're not living it, you're out of integrity. Your magic is not going to create. You're going to get in its way. Okay. So when I say bubbles and I'm reaffirming this, I'm strengthening it. This is where now I can use bubbles to mean today's the greatest day ever. And then I can use buttercup to mean nobody can mess with me. So if I feel threatened, I'm gonna be like buttercup. And now I've put a charm spell around me. Whatever I want it to mean, I can create. And I'm reinforcing it every time I say it. Or I can use the same word, bubbles, to mean today is the greatest day ever. And also, no one can mess with me. Bubbles! Bubbles. So that means the word itself doesn't even matter. I mean, it's just a made up language. The word itself doesn't matter. It's the intention behind the word. This is how magical and powerful you are. Once again, using magic words is not necessarily necessary to manifest, but this reinforces the power behind your intention because now you're speaking it into reality. Okay. So whether you want to use one word or whether you want to use a bajillion words is up to you because you're already using them right now. When you see situations you don't like and you just get frustrated, you're like, fuck, that's a magic spell. You have reinforced to your subconscious, oh, I'm powerless to the situation. You just did a magic spell. Instead, take your power back and be like, nah, I don't like that. I want to change that. Create whatever the fuck you want to do. You are that powerful. So Gemini season 2023, you get to create as many magical words or intentions as you want that you throughout the next 3 to 6 months want to see in your reality. We do this every year. We literally do this every year. Okay. The time lag between your intention and manifestation is the greatest blessing because the difference between you just saying something and it accidentally manifesting versus you actually willfully, intentfully saying and it manifests is relative to your alignment. Okay. And so that's why we don't wait for anything to happen. The moment you decide that this is what you've created, it's here. It's what it is. Okay. Creation begins in metaphysical existences before it becomes real in reality because there's a bridge or of incidents, or doesn't mean things can't happen instantly, but you have to once again recognize that the moment you create it in your mind, it exists. It's real. That's magic, baby. That's science. It is the law of assumption. And the best part about this is don't take my word for it. Practice it. Apply the scientific method to this. I've practiced it. I've seen results. The difference between me getting consistent results versus not is every time that I don't actually attach to the results, because why should I attach to something I already have? Instantly. Every time I attach to the results and I'm trying to force something to happen, it doesn't work because you can't fake the funk. You have to abide by the law. You are a conscious creator. Do not give your power away. And integrity plays such an important part. Okay. So, with that being said, let's now take this concept of this magical creation of your language. The magic language are the words you tell yourself to reinforce your intention in the creation of it in reality. Whether you want to actually create magic words like bubbles, you know what I'm saying? I got you. I'm so glad I can plant that seed. And it's cool. I'm lazy, so I like to use the same word to mean so much things. This has helped me be so much more conscious of my intent now. Instead of just thinking I need to say the right thing to get something, I'm taking my power back from within. And every time I reinforce this, it strengthens. So I'm going to explain how to incorporate NLP through the method of anchoring to empower these magic words. By the time we reach the end of Gemini season, you have mastered several magic words that cross the threshold of Pluto, will actually bring causality in the way you start to see more the effects of this. This is going to lead us into Cancer season, to where we will now add fuel behind these magic words with what feelings to fuel them with, so that now that you've strengthened the words, you can strengthen the power of these words. Then Leo season is going to strengthen the strength of what swag you say these magic words with. And then Virgo season is going to now integrate these magic words in your behavior, to where by Virgo season, you're in the club and now you want, you know what I'm saying? You want to impress the person you're talking to, and you want a certain experience. You're in the club, you know what I'm saying? And you want 2 drinks to just appear. Right? And you're like, hey, baby girl, you know, I run the club down here. I can make anything happen. She's like, really? Can you? Be like, watch this. Bubbles. And then some random person walks up like, hey, I'm not going to drink these anymore. Do you guys want the drink? And I'm like, yes, I do. Toast bubbles. Okay. By Virgo. See, if you put the work in now and reinforce those thoughts, by Virgo season, you're stunting in the club. Then Libra season comes through, you added more polish to this, so that by Sagittarius season, you've completed it, and now you have results for each word. It's just, I'm using the example of words. You don't even have to use words. Some of you can just tie them to feelings. I'm a Gemini, so of course I'm going to use words as an example. I have Gemini as my sign. So this is where, you know, fire signs, you can get away with just visualizing and imagining. But the reason why I want to equate this with words. Yo, chill. The reason why I'm equating this with words is you're using words right now to create your reality. You have thoughts, you have words, you have certain reactions. So I want you to isolate what those words are now. And just like Gemini is a change of idea word, change those words. You could even use the same words, but change the intention behind it. I want you to now move through Gemini season as if everything you ever wanted is one thought away, one decision away. And you're not waiting for the 3D to reflect that. You're creating that. Now that you're in that state, you can now have inspired action and you'll automatically know what to do. So with that being said, now let's use this magic workshop example. And I'm going to show you how with the transits, you can amplify the maximization of this efficiency. Of course, as I'm explaining the Gemini season, for those of you who would actually like a live reading of what this Gemini season will be for you in your chart, you can purchase a reading from my website. Infinity Club members, I posted the 50% off discount. Or you can get a live reading. Click the link in the description below and I will interpret what this will mean for you and what's enlightening for you. So relative to this new moon in Gemini, right now, the moon is in Virgo. Okay, as you can see. But I think, am I able to go back? Awesome. So if we go back a month, we do see we had the new moon in Taurus, right? So the new moon in Taurus brought this foundation of values so that we can begin to change our mind and ideas. And so this brought in the activation, new moon with Gemini, and then of course the moon in Cancer, and then of course the moon in Leo sextile that strengthened everything. That has brought us to the moon in Virgo. We have officially begun the integration process. The integration process is where the magic begins to become real, where the effects of what you've been beginning to activate in these new ideas begin to sprout through the ground, and understanding how your reality is beginning to shift to conform to what you're thinking. Why is this important? Relative to last week, all you had to do was, okay, I'm a millionaire. I'm an infinity-aire, but I have millions in my account. I'm with this person, and all I have to do is just think as if that's it. But for that first week, just like when you plant seeds in the ground, you don't see what's growing through the ground. Did you ever notice that? Like when you plant a seed in the ground and you're watering it, you don't see what the roots growing in the ground unless you have an infrared camera. It's almost as if you kind of have to let out on faith that it's going to grow, but you would never look at it as faith. You just know eventually it's going to go through the ground. That's like affirming and thinking this in your head, but you're looking to your left, you're looking to your right, and you don't really see that your account has millions of dollars. You don't see that you're with that person until you start to see it grow through the ground. That's this right now. As of now, opposite Saturn, okay, now you're starting to see, oh shit, my thoughts really were creating my reality. It's not complete yet, but now you're starting to see more evidence. Now you're starting to see the bridge of incidents. Now you're starting to see things come together. That means you want to keep doing what you're doing. So with that being said, before we go into the rest of how the real work begins with this integration to reinforce the beginnings of the change you're starting to see, because the whole purpose for mutable signs, Gemini, Virgo, Sag, and Pisces, you're going to change. Your perspective is going to change. It's the end of the season. Okay, seeds do grow. So before we go into that, let's talk about the nature of this Gemini season. One, Gemini is, as of current 28th, coming in tomorrow, squaring Saturn. So we do have the Gemini squaring Pisces. All right. And this is what I'm going to do with each season to give you the zodiac weather. So Gemini season on its own is enlightenment, but we have Neptune and Saturn in Pisces. So the 90-degree angle to Pisces is juxtaposing this conclusion of this karmic cycle for the first time, because the last time the sun was in Gemini, Saturn was in Aquarius. So now that the sun is making a square, okay, when I say Saturn in Pisces is harsh, Saturn is going to manifest and materialize the integrity of your beliefs. And Saturn is not here to pussyfoot and coddle you. So if you believe my life is full of crap, Saturn's going to be like, okay, bitch, your life is full of shit. It's responsible. Saturn wants you to have responsibility over your beliefs and imagination. And it's not going to coddle you. Neptune's going to do that to death so that you can learn discernment. It's necessary, but Saturn's not going to coddle you. Saturn's going to be like, you're a grown-ass adult. So if you really believe the whole world is out to get you, bitch, the whole world is out to get you. And you're going to start to see more evidence of this. You have to have the integrity of beliefs to put in that work to reinforce beliefs you want. and Saturn will materialize that. And so this is where, if you're starting to see elements of this is Saturn letting you know, hey, you have to change some of your beliefs if you want to change. For those of you who are Saturn and Virgo, congratulations, you have completed your Saturn return. So the analysis, the authority of analysis that you have in Virgo, you're now completing it through the imagination of this analysis, through how you can imagine the metaphysical based on everything physical you've analyzed. It's a very important completion. Okay. So with that being said, this is the first square of 2 squares. Next year, Gemini season 2024, we're going to square. And in 2025, we're going to have the final square. So the purpose of these 2-year squares is to reinforce a change of our beliefs. The first level of this change of beliefs is the Gemini square with our thoughts. How must we think to reinforce the belief that we're limitless beings? And so the Saturn square is going to bring up doubts so that you see what thoughts need to be changed instantly. And that's what's happening right now coming into the 28th, the first major square. The Neptune and Saturn square to Gemini is the transcendence of our beliefs, 10th house of career to Gemini, so that we can literally create our dream life. Saturn is literally materializing it. Neptune is like the firmware, the software that induces how much layers of depth you can imagine. Okay, case in point, 2012, when Neptune was in just entering Pisces, your capacity to imagine the unseen was like a baby compared to now, where you're so far down in this rabbit hole. Maybe 2012, the concept of fairies was new to you. Now, fairies are not that hard to really imagine. And this isn't about whether it's right or wrong. It's just your capacity to imagine. That's it. Don't get so caught up on attaching to it. You can assume it's delusional, but how delusional can you be? How deeply can you imagine? That's all Neptune and Pisces wants you to know. And so Neptune might have to disassociate you through drugs or through experiences or through escapism so that you can imagine deeper. Do you have to escape? No. But if these are the ways that this works, Neptune does not care. Whereas Saturn is going to make sure you have integrity, Saturn, in your imagination and beliefs. Pisces. Boom. End of the world cycle. Okay. So we have this square that Gemini is going to test our thoughts. Once we step into Virgo season, the next stage of this test comes through by the initial testing of our thoughts being reinforced in our behavior, because your mindset becomes your behavior, which becomes your philosophy. Sagittarius, the philosophy, is going to be the third stage of this testing. After we've reinforced behaviors that align with these beliefs, now we can form new philosophies based off of the real evidence. And we're going to go through 2 more years of this because this shit does not happen overnight. Okay. Some even say imagination is God. If you listen to Neville Goddard. Okay. I disagree, but there's a lot of truth in that. He's not saying that for no reason. Okay. And really, my disagreement is more semantics. So I don't even really disagree. It's just semantics of the wording of everything. But personally, and that's why Pisces is the top G. Sagittarius is top G, but Pisces is like, Pisces and Sag are up there, visualization and imagination. So with that being said, okay, we also have Taurus in its relationship with Gemini. Taurus is transcending relative to our physiological senses, the unconscious habits that we react to physically relative to our thoughts. And so all this Taurus energy behind Gemini is extremely expanding with Jupiter the quality of what is even the word I can say? Extra dimensional energy from outside this dimension that you're drawing from literal extra dimensions on your body to enhance your physical function. Now that we're manifesting the quality of these thoughts in Gemini, the enlightenment of our thoughts help us look at old ways we used to sense reality so we can release and transcend it. But that Uranian aspect and Jupiter and North Node is what's going to account to, relative to previous Gemini seasons, the heightened supernatural quality of evolution that you are going to physiologically process. This is the reason why you're going to be processing physically the supernatural, whereas before you were, but it was completely auto nervous to you. It's not something like you can't perceive at picosecond lengths unless you're the Flash. But now that we're transcending elements of this, it doesn't mean that you can, but you're more noticeable of these minute experiences than you were before because you've awakened and evolved, which presupposes that there's even more cycles of evolution. Because I mean, I'm not even going to be, I'm just going to be completely honest to you. 2030, the 2030s is where supernatural powers will be mainstream. And that's more of a prediction. Because even if you might have it individually, by the time the entire collective understands to where we can push forward to integrate this into our culture, it's going to take the rest of this decade. So this decade is everyone individually awakening and activating so that we can come together respective to whatever wars come through, right? The cycles are infinite for real. So like, you know, in 200 years from now, the children could be like, wow, these guys didn't even know basic magic. You know what I'm saying? Like shit like that. So I'm not trying to say that this is the end all be all. This is just really the stage we're at in this progression. And that's another good way to see this. So you don't feel like you're behind the curve. Every single moment is a opportunity to get back on the track. Okay. So we also have Pluto that's retrograding back into Capricorn, and Venus and Mars are more personal. So our heart and our desire are leading forth, developing more emotional power and bold, heartfelt expression. So with Pisces and Taurus, that relationship with Gemini is both transcending the belief around your thoughts and then also releasing old physiological sensory responses in light of new enlightened information that will completely transcend unconscious habits with which you step into. The reason why I have to reference that with Taurus is because when we integrate the final stage of this Gemini season with the moon in Scorpio, the moon in Scorpio is going to be opposite Taurus. And that's going to represent the transformation of your behavior and the wisdom of your behavior that will help transcend these old physiological responses. And see, because it's behind the conscious awareness of the sun, this is totally auto nervous to you. So you're not even really going to be fully aware of this, nor do you have to be. But being aware that this is happening will help you understand why elements of your behavior are slowly but surely changing. And so now, relative to this magic workshop example, the first part of this activation was from the new moon in Taurus up until this moon in Virgo. We have officially, once the moon was 6 degrees, we literally had 6 degrees, 6 degrees, 6 degrees. Once we reached that triple 6-degree T-square, we began not only integration, but now the total karmic integration relative to this collective narrative and belief system, belief, Pisces, system, Saturn, okay? This is putting you in a position to now sprout those new seeds from the ground. How do we make sense of this? If we use the analogy of the magic words, and this is where you don't have to be conscious of the words you've been using, you can be, but now is where with integration, you want to be hands-on in your approach, just like planting a seed. So the activation part, all last week, you're either aware of the fact or unaware of the fact that you created these magic words already. So the first part of the activation, for example, is, I now have 5 magic words: bubbles, buttercup, dumplings, chicken and waffles, and sexy time. Okay, these are like my magic word phrases. Am I limited to these 5? I can have as much as I want. We're limitless. But I'm going to focus on reinforcing these 5. So now that we're in the integration from moon in Virgo to moon in Libra to moon in Scorpio before harvest, just like we'll do during these seasons, now I'm taking the magic words I've activated. All right, I see dumplings is Joel's. And now I'm integrating the understanding socially, Virgo is social, Libra is social, Scorpio is social. So that means individually, I created these words. Now the integration means when, yep, real life is the greatest anime. Now, when I am in these situations that reinforce what I want to create, the integration means now that I have these words, I'm putting it all together. Now I'm in these social situations and an experience comes through, I'm reinforcing dumplings or bubbles. Today is the greatest day ever, regardless of what state and that meaning of that word means to you, right? Now the integration phase is integrating into my behavior the effects of these words through anchoring the neurolinguistic programming element of the state and the feeling. So every time I feel amazing, in whatever situation I'm in, I'm going to say my magic word. I'm going to reinforce it. This is going to bring up old programming, the old way I used to react, and I'm reinforcing it with the new word. That simple. That's the difference between coming up with the creation of the word versus now applying it. Do you have to do it that way? No. This is just one of an infinite number of ways we can do it. I'm using the example of words. Okay. So basically, and we're going to do this again Virgo season, but now that the moon is in Virgo, you are understanding the real physical dynamics and mechanics to bring reality to the conscious awareness of your thoughts. I'm going to say it again. You are understanding the real physiological mechanics and the analysis of such of the awareness of your conscious thoughts. You are starting to be aware of the magic of timing. Okay, the causality between you saying and thinking certain things and what happens. By the time the moon is in Capricorn and this completes this physiological understanding, you will be using what you've analyzed. But we're still seeing the seeds grow through the ground. And so all you have to do is just be receptive to the continual nature of what you're thinking, okay, and how these thoughts are creating your world. You cannot do this if you are distracted by your 3D. And that is the test presented by Saturn. Oh, I thought you said you have millions in the bank. How come you have a negative account in the bank? And all you have to do is just reinforce, because dumplings, that's why. You're delusional. I do have millions in the bank. Don't you see it? Meanwhile, your bank account might be negative $500, but that doesn't stop you from thinking you have millions in the bank. Period. If that's too delusional for you, you don't really have to do that. This is just an example, but I want to highlight how conventional everything about this is unconventional because you've been lied to. So the truth is going to sound unconventional. I don't know what else to say. We're not trying to argue that it has to be there. This is the process of alignment. Someone who has $2 million is not worrying how they're going to get $2 million in their account. You already handled that the moment you decided it. Nothing is impossible. Anything is possible. You make it possible. And so you're not noticing the change to wait for anything to happen. This is you consciously facilitating this. And the reason why this moon in Virgo is so important is this is where the real magic starts. Truthfully, the magic started once you thought it. But now the moon in Virgo is where the real magic starts. Okay, where it starts to actually produce for real. This is very important because the moon is trining Mercury. And as it trines Uranus, you will start to see a rapid acceleration of how your unconscious physiological responses bring more weight into what you have been consciously creating. And this is going to help you perfect your magical ability. This is going to help you understand the style with which you communicate and think of the world you want to create. This is going to lead us now into the moon in Libra. The reason why the moon in Libra is such an iconic transit is after the moon in Virgo adjusts the physical real world understanding of what needs to change in your behavior so that you can see more results into what you're thinking. Well, now you've adjusted it with the square. Now you realize, oh, okay, this is how I want to think to maintain the seeds growing through the ground. Now the moon in Libra is going to have you move in that direction. It's like, okay, now I know I shouldn't have to react to this. Now I know the way I'm thinking is working. Now Libra is going to add swag, Leo signature. Last year when this happened, I created the song Foolish Babble 3. It was the expression of my mindset, the creative inner child performance, an expression of how now Libra socially, how do I use these magic words to communicate with people, right? So when someone's like, oh my gosh, I just had a really bad day today. And then I just look them in the face and I'm just like, it's okay. Bubbles, bubbles. And they're like, what the fuck is bubbles? And I'm like, don't worry. You're going to have the best day ever now. Boom. I just spoke magic to that person. I'm fully able to express this. And now the Leo signature lets me have fun with this. Bubbles, bubbles, chicken and waffles. I'm just speaking my magic words. Neurolinguistic programming through the act of anchoring reinforces these feelings with every time I say the word, so that subconsciously I associate that feeling with the word. Is it necessary to do this? No. But some of you do this unknowingly. Whenever someone breaks your heart, and now you're reinforcing this experience to be like, see, that's why I'm just so unlucky in love. And this never works. So you already do this, but stop giving your power away. You're not unlucky in love. You are creating that you are. I've made this mistake plenty of times, and then I took my goddamn power back. It's literally that simple. It is all a decision away. And some of you don't really believe you're that powerful. So we can say consciously, and you can agree with this, but your subconscious mind that you are not conscious of still holds this old programming. And so doubts creep up, fears creep up. You want to let them surface so that you can release them with love and replace them. This requires effort. That's why you can't say magic just comes in your lap out of thin air. It's never like that. For anyone who you've ever seen something come out of thin air, there was some kind of like work involved. Even stuff that's effortless and easy. You know what I'm saying? Fam is snapping on this transmission. I have to make sure this is clear because there's no excuses. You are so motherfucking powerful. Literally, you just have to think it and decide you have it. It's there. And so how much more powerfully would you move forward if you truly knew that? All right. And thankfully, you have life experience to remind you. And listen, that doesn't mean you're not going to be, discouraged. That doesn't mean you're not going to have days that you feel are better than others. We're not asking you to spiritually bypass here. We're not saying to just ignore all the bad stuff in your life and just affirm the good. If that's what you want to do and that works for you, cool. But like manifestation can still work. And this creation can still work even if you have like negative emotions. For example, when I make these special videos for teaching magic, if you have like a water sign moon, or if you have an earth sign moon, I can teach you how to use negativity to manifest, because negative is earth and water signs. Positive is air and fire. So it's easy for a fire moon to be positive and be like, everything's going right in my life. That's kind of fake for me. I have a Cap moon. I like to be salty as fuck. I'm gonna be honest. I know it's hard for you to understand. Who wants to be negative all day? Have you met a Capricorn or a Taurus? Like we be on some negative shit. I'm sorry. So this is how I twisted it in my favor. I could just be like, damn, I just get so much money. And this has actually worked for me. For example, I just get so much fucking money. Damn, why do I just keep making so much money? This is ridiculous. Like, why do I like, I have so much money, dude. Like, I just keep on getting so much money. And it's like, I can't even give away this money. And I'm legitimately being negative now. It's just like, like everything in my life just works out so fucking well. And now I'm still, I'm not having to fake how I feel. I'm just changing the mindset around it. This is how you take back control of your mind. And Contemplate the fact that the shit you think is real. And this is so very important because I can say that and you would say that I'm delusional for saying that. But what you think is normal is just as delusional. So if you had $5 in your account and you're like, damn, I don't have that much money. That's delusion. That's just as delusional to say because you hallucinate your conscious reality. This universe is not even locally real. So, like, for you to make that affirmation is no different than affirming you have $100 million in your bank account. In fact, affirming the other one is smarter because you're now aligning with the creation of that. So, be very mindful of timed experiences of agents in the matrix who bring up bullshit to reinforce you back in your old position. These people are not coming up coincidentally. Anyone who's even open like that to be used as a vessel to be an agent like that, you should really be mindful of why that person is allowed that agency and free will in your life. Okay. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, you literally there, you can't even use negativity as an excuse. You can literally use your own negative emotions to supercharge your intentions. You just have to be in control of your thoughts, and that requires discipline. You can't be a victim of your own mindset and then complain that your world is not the way that you want it to. And these are things that I wish I could tell myself as a kid. But you know, we all have our other time to come through. Anyway, after the moon in Libra helps you understand the nuanced class imbalance of how to say what you're saying so that you can fully express the power, cardinal Libra, of the magic, Gemini of the words. The most important part in my position of the transit will come into play. The actual integration. Okay. So the moon in Scorpio integration is the most important part of this. And call it Aldebaran, God bless you, because this is lifelong. Okay. Like every year we upgrade, which means there's more room for growth and mastery. So, like, you know, we're perfect, but being perfect doesn't mean we still can't learn and grow. You know what I mean? People have kind of skewed versions of perfection where perfection means we don't make mistakes. It's perfect. That's not perfection. Perfection is more of an experience. It's the experience of the good, the bad, and the ugly to where everything is perfect. But don't take my word for that. Once again, experiment that with yourself. You feel me? That will require releasing attachments to things in this world. And you'll remember that, you know a lot more than you give yourself credit for. Even though I can say confidently, none of us know anything. Such is the duality of life. Once we get into the Scorpio, this is going to be the glue of the integration. This is going to now help you understand the transformation, Scorpio, of your behavior, 6th house from the Gemini sun, that's going to now reinforce the glue to stick into this reality from your core, the strength of your magic words. That being said, if the moon in Cancer added power to our thoughts, right? Remember where I was like, Gemini season is, I'm a sailor. And then the moon in Cancer is feeling the words of that. I'm a sailor. Versus the moon in Leo, I'm a sailor. One is clearly more powerful and strengthened, right? Well, the moon in Cancer has the feeling of I'm a sailor. Well, the moon in Libra takes the feeling of those words and expresses it. I'm a sailor. You feel me? Okay, horrible. But like still, basically, I'm now taking this individual feeling and I'm projecting it. Well, the moon in Leo, I'm a sailor, is now reinforced and integrated in Scorpio to where you're keeping that strength, but you're balancing the integration of you're still keeping that energy. Do you not know I'm a sailor? And now my behavior starts to reflect my sailor being. Okay. And this is where we strengthen the psychological understanding relative to this furthering of integration to prepare for harvest. Now, before the harvest, the moon will trine Saturn to reinforce those beliefs with a much more intensified feeling towards it. And it's the opposition to the Taurus energy that will, in preparation for harvest, help you understand how the physiological responses towards experiences have now transformed in your behavior towards more of what you want to create, bringing us, of course, to the full moon in Scorpio or Sagittarius, where by this point you have begun to complete the harvest. So from moon in Sagittarius to moon in Pisces, the way that you are thinking, you will now begin to see. The completion of the harvest will be in the moon in Pisces, where you have seen the effects of the thoughts you've planted seeds for and integrated, and you will now change your belief because you've seen the results of your own thought process and your own magical words. This is going to be supernatural, just off the basis that the moon will be closing King Kunks the Taurus. And so your understanding of this vision will transform the physiological senses and sensory response to what you're seeing by showing you more of the causality behind what you think and say and what actually happens. It's going to show you what's been happening, but now that you've leveled up at this level, you notice it more. And the square that we have to Pisces is going to change the understanding of what you're seeing relative to this reinforcement of beliefs that through this testing you have maintained alignment with. If you failed this test, you will gain the results of that too. And this is where, from this harvest point, you're seeing a sneak peek of Sagittarius season 6 months from now, to where what it is you come into, you'll understand. Nikki asked a really good question. So being mutable really is the superpower versus fixed. And yeah, be here now. The true completion of everything, mutable signs are the completion with Pisces. So it's all connected. We break it down just to understand it, but being mutable really is the superpower, because you have to be it first, then you take action, then the fixed comes last. You have after. Be, do, have. So you can take everything that I said about magic and everything, and literally, it's just about being in the state. The magic words is just to reinforce that state. The visualization is just to reinforce what you've already decided. Okay. And if your decision is that on point, you won't even need to. Now, once we step into the moon in Capricorn, the understanding of the change of this vision is going to now, closing King Kunks, transform your thought process, because you're going to understand the utilization of these magical abilities. And in this utilization, trine Uranus and Mercury, it's going to wrap your physiological sensory response and help you understand in Capricorn the utilization of this thought process. This is going to transform what you're perceiving by showing you the actual causality. That moon in Sag, moon in Cap is where you're going to literally begin to see the harvest of the effects of what you've been doing. And that moon in Cap transit is going to be so important, because that's what's going to ground physically your real understanding of, oh, this was not just in my head. And that's what leads us not only to the moon Pluto conjunction, but the 9th house aspect to Gemini, the final part of this harvest. Okay. Whereas the moon in Leo was you saying it with your chest. Now the moon in Aquarius is the detached knowledge of everything you said courageously, knowing the higher element of what, how, and when to express this, and the collective sociological effect from your own individual boldness. Case in point, now that you have seen that the harvest is harvesting, the moon in Aquarius will help you understand the knowledge of what has changed. Now you not only know that what you're saying produces magical effect, you're going to understand the knowledge of what to say and how to say it. All right. This is how, in a very short Gemini season, this is the effectively you tuning your guitar. So manifestation is like tuning a guitar. You're just tuning your frequency. And sometimes we get knocked off balance. We start to devolve into negative thoughts. We start to devolve into perspectives that are not aligned with what we want. And that's the equivalent of the guitar being out of tune. So what do? You tune it back. Whether you need to use visualization, affirmations, repetitive thoughts, that's all it is, so that you can play that note. And once we complete this actual transit in Pisces, this is showing you relative to the first Saturn moon conjunction, save in Taurus season, that we've connected with. Because if you look a month ago, we did have this in Taurus season. Wait, we must have had it in Aries too. Okay, cool. So the third one, right? This is going to reinforce the magical beliefs around your thoughts relative to the results. The 10th house aspect is the results. So this is why by the moon in Pisces, you're going to start to change your beliefs around what's possible. Why? Because the way you've been thinking, not only are you seeing results for it, they're replicable. The systematic nature of Saturn produces replicable results, which is why you were tested at each level. All right. And this is where once the moon squares on Neptune, this is going to quintessentially change the perceptual nature of how you are aware of the metaphysical and the unseen dynamics and what to think about them, because of what you've analyzed now with the moon in Virgo and what you will see with the moon in Sagittarius. And this is what will prepare us to do it all over again, as we do cyclically, but this time we'll be moving forward in Cancer. So the completion phase is very important, because this is where you will now get your high score relative to what it is you have created. And the purpose of this transit, which is to align your mindset towards you. I don't want to take a prosperity gospel approach to this, because this isn't necessarily about just manifesting what you want. This manifestation ability is going to aid you in what it is you're meant to do in this world. So the good consequence of that is being able to manifest what you want, but it's really to express your spiritual gifts, so that when you're put in situations where someone says, oh, we're going to kill you if you speak this, you're magic. You now know you got the power. And so you don't necessarily have to worry about that. The moon in Aries is now going to align you with this mindset, with the understanding of the original individuals who you belong with. And it's also going to give you the direction of the results of your manifestation, the rewards from career, the actions you take with Chiron to heal the vulnerability to express this so much more powerfully. And then the moon in Taurus is going to conclude this transcendence of your physiological response, because you transform your behavior with the moon in Scorpio. So now your physiological response, you're going to understand, is so much more different and now aligned to the fact that, damn, my thoughts really are things. Like, I always knew that, but now I know that. Like, I approach it so much more differently. Boom. That leads us into the new moon in Gemini. And with that new moon in Gemini, now that we have come back around to do this, we're starting this new cycle for Cancer season in Gemini, with which we will do during that ceremony, the new idea, the updated idea, speaking into reality what we want to create, which we'll do for the ceremony. You can literally write a letter to the universe, or just have a magic word you want to speak and just speak that, because that's what you're going to drive with in Cancer season, Chariot card. Okay. And yeah, y'all, that's going to conclude the rest of the season. The moon will be in Cancer, and by the time it's in Leo, the sun will be in Cancer. So by the time we have the second aspect, the second house aspect at the end of 29 degrees, you'll be feeling the power of your words relative to how much you've beefed it up. Okay. So that, ladies and gentlemen, in a nutshell, is the process of using your own mind and brain to create whatever it is you want for yourself. I kind of felt like I didn't explain this well. And Shannon, thank you so much for proving me wrong. I really appreciate the positive remarks that I'm getting from this, because I want to make sure that you get the concept that I'm speaking on. How does this make you feel? Like, you don't have to wait for something magical to activate within you. You don't have to wait to meet your twin flame or your soulmate. You don't have to wait for something. Like, it's all you. And I'm so glad this made a ton of sense. Mind you, I was born with a Gemini sun. So, like, every single else one of you are going to take, and I'm so glad you like the freestyle versus PowerPoint. Every single else one of you can take what I said and understand it at such a higher level. Like, I don't want you to hear this like I am the end all be all authority. I'm introducing this at a low level so that you can make it whatever you want, because that's all a part of being limitless. I just wanted to kind of introduce the mechanics that make sense to me so that you can now, because like some of you are social, some of you are mad artistic, others of you, right? You don't have any Gemini. I don't have Sagittarius. So everything that I just said, I can't necessarily see how to make greater sense of it, or I won't necessarily know how it plays out in reality. Those of you with Virgo, you'll know how to take my message and instantly apply it. Those of you with Sagittarius, you instantly see what I'm saying means. I don't have any Pisces in my chart. Those of you with Pisces in your chart, you already know how to bring it together. So this is where I'm just contributing my idea so that we can, of course, create this greater collective wisdom and knowledge together. Okay. My role as Gemini is to just initiate the perspective, because Gemini is the first mutable sign. But that doesn't mean it's not subject for criticism. That doesn't mean there aren't certain things I said that might have been off. And I always welcome being challenged like that, because then that means I get to learn something new. I'm not afraid of being wrong. And so that's why I really am grateful that I confirm these things with you. And I just hope that I've kind of provided some kind of framework. Okay. Please make sure you watch this replay at least 3 times, 3 to 7 times. The messages I make, 3 to 7 times of listening really come through. And I really want to remind you, there's not a single thing that I've told you. We are the body of God. Amen. There's not a single thing that I've told you that you have never known your whole life. Everything, I'm not told you any new information outside of the transits that are happening, right? You have always known this your whole life. You are an amazing, beautiful, powerful, miraculous being. And so in taking this right now, everything that you think and maintaining your mind, you're bridging that frequency out to create in this reality that we have proven. Thank God to these genius scientists who have proven this universe is not locally real. Clearly, that means you must be coming from somewhere. My theory is that the soul is projecting this through your physical body from when you were born, which is the physical mechanism. So we have something real to operate out of. We might find that that's completely wrong. And I don't care as long as we get the truth. But basically, now that you know that this is being projected, what frequency are you emitting? What thoughts are you emitting? Are you thinking thoughts that, in fact, there's an amazing verse for this. Finally, brethren, Philippians 4:8. Finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, if there be any praise, think on these things. This is where, if you just cover these basics, you wouldn't even need the advanced because you already cover them. So I want to give you one magic word that you can use, right? You can make up the word, but the affirmation pack is the same affirmation that we're going to carry from Taurus season. And you can make any word around this, but you use this one and it'll cover every base. Everything in my life is perfect. Everything in my life is perfect. Everything works out for me. Another goated one that's really awesome. Everything that everyone does is to my benefit. So this is where, and now everything in my life is perfect could be Gertrude, or you could use the magic word QuickBooks to mean everything in my life is perfect. I personally use bubbles or dumplings. Well, Joel got dumplings. So when I get serious, I use chicken and waffles. You can make up whatever word, but basically everything in my life is perfect. This is an affirmation that Buddha AQ used, and it worked in his life instantly. Guaranteed, Buddha is a celestial king, so Aquariuses are nice with that. Aquarius and Pisces get supernatural results, but everyone does too. Everything in my life is perfect is one of the best ever, because it literally reminds you that the good, the bad, and the ugly. So when you're going through shitty stuff, you just remember, well, this is perfect. Everything in my life is happening perfectly the way it's meant to. That's it. That's it. Even if it looks like it's not, your word is what's powerful, not the circumstances. Circumstances don't matter. Another one that's really good, like if you're irritated at what someone's doing, if someone is trying to like undermine your respect, why do you have to get ticked off? Everything that they do works for your benefit, good, bad, or ugly. So I don't even have to beef with people. I don't have to get on my machismo or act like I'm better. It's like, no, we're all winning here. Everything that you do, good or bad, works for me, homie. So I'm trying to help you do what you do. That takes your power back. You're not letting someone put power over you. Or I'm perfect. I'm perfect. I'm perfect. Everything in my life is perfect. Everything that everyone does works in my favor. Pronoia. Okay. So, like, now that you know this, all right, we're going to, after Gemini season, move into the summer period. You have activation, integration, breakthrough. Breakthrough is Libra, Scorpio, Sag, and then completion, the last season of the arc. So, or the last arc of the season. So basically, we're getting ready to step into the second arc of the season. Gemini season is the last part of the first arc. So this is going to activate your magical potential. Integration and in a breakthrough brings us into the social environment. And this is where you're going to start to realize who's truly an agent. So stop making excuses for people. Okay, you don't have to cut people off. You could just confront them. But basically, now that you know this, and now that you're going to be creating your world, who shows up immediately or over time to reinforce you back in the old world? Some people are slick. They do it with jokes. Oh, I'm just joking. I'm not being serious. But how come every time they're joking, it's reinforcing the old world? You're not a millionaire. That's crazy. You're broke as hell. I'm just joking. That's an agent. Like, I'm sorry. I know some people are not ready to hear this conversation. Some of you are around agents. Some of you are wondering why you're blocked. You can't be blocked. But some of you are wondering why you have resistance or challenges, like coming through. But everyone who's around you in your life is an agent that reinforces the old world. And so if you plant a seed in non-fertile soil, it's not going to grow that well. I'm sorry. So this is where you're going to get ready to connect with people who don't fill you in with an echo chamber, because reinforcing the older new world, reinforcing the world you're stepping into does not look like people being your yes man. you can be in a room of people who reinforce the world you're creating and they don't agree with anything you believe in. They might think you're a weird conspiracy theorist and they don't believe that, but that challenge is helping you to create this positively because, yeah, they don't believe in what you're doing, but they don't try to change you. If anything, their challenge of your beliefs helps reinforce more of your own. So I want to make sure we're clear with this because some people may be in an echo chamber where they hear exactly what they want and that just still reinforces the old world. I just want to be clear on that. Just so it doesn't look like people who disagree with you are agents and people who agree with you are your people. No. It could be the person agreeing with you that's an agent. Yeah. You got $2 million in your account. I believe in you. I mean, I'm sure you don't really mean that. Right. That person's agreeing with you, but they're reinforcing the old narrative. Right. So don't be afraid to challenge, but also don't make excuses for family, friends, and people in your life who reinforce the old story. You don't have to fight them. You don't have to argue with them, but you just have to reinforce what you're doing. And their inability and or willingness to keep reinforcing the old should let you know, snip, snip, snip. You don't have to cut people off though. You can change yourself within to see everyone as you pushed out. I never used to believe that's real. It's actually real from experience. Okay. Trying to change other people will not change them. Changing how you perceive them within will change how they respond to you. Okay. But we're above doing things to manipulate for results. Everything in our life is perfect. So we don't have to do all these changes. We just allow and move forward and be here now, which is the most important thing. We're not waiting for these manifestations to occur. So once you decide you have it, just move on. And that's how it's going to meet you as you're living your life. Because I used to wait in vain for no reason, mainly too out of laziness and just doubt. But now I realize we got the magic. Shannon, thank you for saying that. And we appreciate you having the courage to share that. New World War Zero still coming soon. See the God in them. I love that. For our enemy is not flesh and blood. So, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is where even those people playing that part of Matrix or Agent, this is still just a play. So when the play is over, we're all going to be behind the curtain and talking about, you were such a dick to me during that play. I know that was my role. So, like, you know, it is what it is. And yeah, I'm just so honored I was able to share this message. I see nobody wants any live readings. So with that, I'm going to dip out of this BI. And until next time,